Hi guys, I wanted to go over the last concept for this unit, which is absolute value equations. Alright, so absolute value can never, ever, 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 never be negative. Okay? Never, ever, never, ever, ever be negative. When you take the absolute value of something, that something can be negative, but what you get cannot be negative. Alright, so the absolute value of 5, absolute value of negative 5. Because what you're really finding is absolute value is the distance between 0 and that number. So the distance between 0 and 5 is 5 units, and the distance between negative 5 and 0 is 5 units. All right. These lines right here is what absolute value is. And what's inside can be negative, but once you take the absolute value with the lines, it cannot be negative. So the absolute value of negative 12 is 12. The absolute value of 12 itself is 12. What if we were trying to find the absolute value of some number x, like, and we didn't know that number? There should be another line. Whatever's inside here, right here, whatever's inside there, it can be that number, okay, 4, 8, 24, 92, 5 million, okay, whatever that number is. Or it could be negative that number. Negative 4, negative 12, negative 92, negative 5 million. 3/4, negative 3/4, because whenever you take the absolute value of that number, it becomes positive again. All right, so that's the big thing to take away from this. When we're trying to find the absolute value of something, you're going to have the positive version of it, and you're going to have the negative version of it. All right, so let's answer some. So here we are. And what we're going to do is we're going to split it up into two equations. We're going to have x plus 8 equals negative 3, and x plus 8 equals positive 3. Because when we take the absolute value of negative 3, we'll get positive 3. And when we take the absolute value of positive 3, we get positive 3. So we're going to get two answers. All right, so negative 3 is a regular number, so we're going to move this 8 over, and we're going to subtract. And so negative 3 minus 8, you owe me $3, you owe me $8, so you owe me $11. And over here, let's subtract 8 again. 3 minus 8, negative 5. All right, and so I want to show you why this works. Okay, so the absolute value of negative 11 plus 8 equals 3. So negative 11 plus 8, if you stick it in your calculator, you get negative 3. And the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. Check. Let's try over here. Absolute value of negative 5, oopsies, that's a negative 5, plus 8 equals 3. So the absolute value of negative 5 plus 8. So negative 5 plus 8 is positive 3. Absolute value of positive 3 is 3. Check. Okay, so our two answers are negative 11 and negative 5. Let's do another one. All right, so you need to think of it as like grouping symbols, and we need to get that absolute value all by itself. So here we need to add 3 to both sides. We need to get rid of it. And the opposite operation of negative is positive. So what we really have is absolute value of y plus 4 equals 3. All right, now we need to split it up. Y plus 4 equals negative 3. Y plus 4 equals 3. So we're going to subtract 4 on both sides. And so we get y equals negative 7. And then 3 minus 4 is negative 1. And so if we check it, negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3, but the absolute value of negative 3 is positive 3. And positive 3 minus 3 is 0, so that one works. And then we have negative 1. So negative 1 plus 4 is positive 3. Absolute value of positive 3, positive 3. Minus 3 is also 0, so it works. Let's do another one. Right here, we need the absolute value, this guy, to be all by itself. So let's subtract 6. So we get absolute value of 3d minus 9, absolute value, equals negative 6. Okay, the rule is absolute value can never be negative because distance is always positive. Like you can run east, west, north, or south, but you're never running a negative distance. Okay, so no solution because you cannot take the absolute value of a negative number. So you're done with that problem because you can't take the absolute value of a negative number. What about here? Do not distribute this 3. Don't do it. Divide by that 3 because you need the absolute value all by itself. So we have x minus 5. 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then we have our absolute values. All right. So we have x minus 5 equals negative 4. X minus 5 equals positive 4. All right, now finish solving. So that 5 is being subtracted, so we're going to add. So negative 4 plus 5 is 1. 4 plus 5 is 9. So we get 1 and 9. Let's do another one. All right, so we're not going to freak out. It looks long. It is long, but we can do it. So the first thing you need to do is subtract this 14. And we're not going to automatically stop because of this negative 16 because we've got stuff we've got to do with this 14 and this 2. So we may get a negative number and we can stop, or we may get a positive number and we have to keep going. Negative 16 minus 14 is negative 30. Okay, then we need to divide by this negative 2 that's right there. Don't distribute. Negative 30 divided by negative 2 is positive 15. So we have a positive number, so we're going to keep going. So we have 2x plus 3 equals negative 15. And we have 2x plus 3 equals positive 15. So we're going to subtract 3 on both sides because he's being added, and we're doing operations. So we get 2x equals negative 18. 2x equals 12. We're going to divide by 2. We get x equals negative 9. It's okay that we get a negative answer because when we plug it back in, we'll end up with a positive answer when we get the absolute value. Divide by 2 here. Get x equals 6. So our answers are 6 and negative 9. So you need to make sure you add and subtract everything and multiply or divide by everything that's not in the absolute value grouping symbols, and then deal with the absolute value and do a positive and a negative. Oh, okay, it's right here. I just didn't write it down. All right, let's do this guy. All right, so it's okay that the absolute value is not written first. The 15 is positive, so I'm going to subtract him. 6 minus 15 is negative 9. Okay, so I have absolute value equals a negative number, which is not possible. You cannot take absolute value of a negative number, so no solution. Let's do this guy. So it's okay that there's a negative inside because it doesn't equal a negative number. So we're going to do negative 3x plus 4 equals negative 5. Oops. No. And then negative 3x plus 4 equals positive 5. Change colors. All right, so this is a regular number, so I'm going to move this 4. He's positive, so I'm going to subtract him because we need it to equal 0. So I have negative 3x equals negative 9. Negative 3x equals 1. And so that 3x is being multiplied, so I'm going to divide. So negative 9 divided by negative 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and a negative is a positive. Just stick it in your calculator though. Negative 9 divided by negative 3, 3. And then this will be negative 1/3. So those are your two answers. Okay. And so that's absolute value. Absolute value, you'll get two answers because absolute value, you can get a positive or a negative. And don't just add positive or negative to your answer. Like you need to do positive version, negative version. And that kind of wraps up equations and inequalities.